From the Oklahoma newsroom, this is a Thunder update. I'm Jenni Carlson. The Thunder schedule is out in its entirety. Our man Darnell Mayberry joins us on the phone. And Darnell, you had bits and pieces of this schedule as it was coming towards being completely out on Wednesday night. You broke news about the opener against the Spurs, the Christmas Day game against the Bulls. Then you had the home schedule early yesterday before we got the full schedule. But now that you've seen it in its entirety, what stands out to you? Is there a stretch of games, games that you just think are going to be fun and intriguing? What sort of top of the head as you got a chance to see the entire schedule for the Thunder?
Well, the first thing that really jumped out at me was the alternate home and away games for the first 2 weeks of the season. The entire first 2 weeks, the Thunder's home, away, home, away, home, away. And that's rarely seen in an NBA schedule. And it sounds like it might be less taxing because they're not on the road for 2 consecutive games until late, I guess, early December, or early November, I should say, November 30th and December 3rd at Atlanta and at Miami. But that can be more taxing sometimes for teams and players when you have to pack up and go and and you're not just in one place for an extended stretch. So that to me was something that jumped out. And then also the final 10 games, 7 of them are on the road, 11 of the last 17 are on the road. So when you have such a great home stretch to start the season, obviously that means you're going to be loaded late with road games. So I think those 2 things really jumped out first to me.
Yeah, we know how tough it was down the stretch for teams in the West last year, just trying to eke out those games to get into the playoffs or get playoff position. It was so close. We kind of expect that again, so obviously important to look at that end of the schedule. You made light of the fact that 24 nationally televised games will be played by the Thunder. That was what you wrote about in the Thursday Oklahoman as well as on News OK. Second only to the champion Warriors, the runner-up Heat. They'll be on 25 times on national television. But you mentioned the rigors of that early schedule, Darnell. But the back-to-back numbers are not very high for the Thunder. They don't have a ton of back-to-backs. That's I guess if there's a flip side to maybe a rigorous home away to start the year, maybe that's the trade-off.
Yeah, it is, and that's something that the league has really tried to put a focus and emphasis on this season. The Thunder's only going to play 16 back-to-backs. I believe that could be the fewest that they've played since they moved here. They played 18 last year, which was tied for the 3rd fewest, and so 16 this year is a really good number. Again, the league has tried to get the back-to-backs down and the 4- and 5-game swings down, which the Thunder will only do once this season, play 4 games in 5 nights. And, the NBA is trumpeting the fact that they've gotten that down 61% to 0.9 4- and 5-night tests per team. So there's only 27 league-wide this year, and Thunder has one of them. So from that standpoint, the schedule structure is relatively favorable for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and Adam Silver's talked about this. Darnell, I know you've heard him in person talk about this. The injuries obviously last year were a huge deal in the league. The league obviously trying to reduce as much as they can wear and tear on players. You can't reduce it entirely. It's still an 82-game schedule, so that is what it is. But trying to give them a little more rest in between games, it seems like, and they have built that in to schedules this year. Lastly, Darnell, let's just talk about the fun factor. Obviously, we know the opener against the Spurs is going to be huge. It's going to be at the peak. You're going to have the Spurs and the old guard and the new guard. You've got LaMarcus Aldridge, David West. Then you've got Billy Donovan making his first appearance on the sidelines for the Thunder. You got Kevin Durant coming back, but there's so many great games out there, Darnell. Is there 1 or 2 or 3 that kind of pique your interest as being those marquee nights that you're really looking forward to?
The Christmas game against Chicago, Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls, Pau Gasol, Joakim Noah, Jimmy Butler is now an all-star and an emerging star in this league. That's going to be a lot of star power in the league. There was some uncertainty on what time that game was going to be, but they gave them the prime 2:30 Eastern start. So 1:30 Central. Everyone in the country who likes basketball on any level is probably going to be watching. You've already had a chance to do your Christmas thing in the morning with your family. And then you can just sit down in front of the TV and watch Thunder Bulls. I think that's one that's really gonna be fun. But also, anytime Golden State's on the schedule, anytime San Antonio's on the schedule, the Clippers and the Rockets, those four teams, and I throw Memphis in there as well. Anytime those teams are on the schedule, and obviously LeBron, you only get to see those two guys go head-to-head, Kevin Durant and LeBron James, twice a year. So anytime those teams are on the schedule, you really gear up and get excited in a different way than you would for any other team. So those are the teams that I really look at and get excited to see coming to Oklahoma City, or maybe us going out there and seeing them play in their road buildings.
Well, I definitely think after what happened last season, lots of Thunder fans looking forward to a lot of games on the schedule this year. October 28th, that opener against the Spurs. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.